Hello, welcome to Promise Resource Network. I want to give everyone a moment to tune in while I get the computer screen set up, just so. So I'm Jane, and this is Expansions. I love this offering so much. So this is where we get to dive into and expand the spiritual dimension of wellness, which, y'all, spirituality has been a thing. Just on the real, spirituality is one of those things that has been around forever and ever and ever. And we've talked about it forever and ever and ever, like as a species. And we always get like all mucked up with like the different words that we use, right? It's like, is it God or is it Allah? Is it Jesus? Is it Buddha? Is it, and like all these other words, like all the words that go with spirituality that actually it's funny that like end up separating us out into like dueling people that's like, no, my words are the right way, and no, my words are the right way. And it's really, it all just leads to the same truth, right? The truth, the thing that only your words can make sense with, but it's still the same truth of on some level, right? Anyway, I like spirituality. I want to say good evening to my mother, Jane, who's joining me and you. Hello. I want to say good evening to Catherine. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you on here with us tonight. Gonna get all comfortable. I want to say, good evening, Kimberly Eubanks. I'm gonna scoot you all up my. Oh yeah, y'all got wobbly just then. Oh, wobble. Hey, Lauren is here. Oh my gosh, everybody's here. Everybody's here. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh man. I always like bring like all the toys over to me so I don't have to get up. And I forgot the one thing that I need. Please hold. Okay, I'm back. You can't tell. Okay, now you can tell that I'm back. I had to get a lighter. Hey, good evening, Marv. Oh, I'm happy you're here. Kevin says, I love spirituality because nobody can take that. True story. People can take your home, right? Your physical home. People can take your family. People can take your freedom. People can take the clothes off your back. They can't take away your spirituality, right? They can't, well, they can take away the way you practice it. That's what's been the reality that we've lived through, right? Look at the indigenous people. I'm lighting sage to clear the air, to get me in the zone. But yeah, that's what happened, right? I'll talk more about that in a second, because it's going to tie into what I'm going to talk about, what we get to talk about, because I want to hear your feedback and ideas tonight, y'all. I really love sage and Palo Santo, y'all. You get it where it's sustainably grown. Thank you from the earth. So, get that right there. I'd like to all connect before we drop in. Oh, yes. Let us just connect. Let's all just drop in, right? We've all had a day so far, right? You've lived a day, this day and another and another and another before that. But here's the day that you decided to show up with. This one, right now. So take a breath in, y'all. And sigh it out. Take a couple more deep breaths. Start to fill up your lungs. Fill up your body with fresh air. Let this breath go and start to feel present. Start to feel your beautiful body. Start to feel now. Feel the presence of now. Releasing all the things that happened before this now. Releasing all the ideas of what you need to do after this now. And come back home. Come back to your center. Come back to your heart. Call in all of the energy that you have spread yourself around today with. Whether you went to the store, you were on phone calls, you were on social media, you were spreading your energy and your thoughts and your love all over the place. What needs to stay will stay, and until then, bring you back to now. Take another big breath with me. And let it go. The ritual of me lighting up that sage and doing this bowl and breathing, I don't know if it does anything for you all, but like for real, it brings me back. It brings me back to now, to presence, to this like calm feeling. And I do it for others. But like when I do that, like I don't do this every day for myself. Actually, I kind of do. Anyway. So good evening, Sarah Catherine. How are you? It's good to see you on here as well. Catherine mentioned about spirituality being something that no one can take. And it makes me think about the indigenous people around the globe, right? You name it, all over the place. And those that were colonizing would take people and say, hey, you can't practice your beliefs. You have to practice this religion, okay? And so they would try really hard to take their connection away, their connection to source, their connection to the earth, their connection to love, the connection to truth, and try to make them forget and guilt them and shame them and kill them. Take away everything that they had. And on the surface, it looked like everything was taken away from these people, right? They can't sing and chant. They can't dance and celebrate. They can't have the shaman or the medicine person do the work upon birth or death. All these other rules came in to disconnect them with their culture, and the culture that we is the way we celebrate and mourn and move through life with a connection to something bigger, right? It's taking that source within and connecting to the source outside of self. Same thing. Anyhow, so they would take the spiritual connection and practices from the indigenous people, and I think it's really a beautiful now that we get to live in, because we get to not only remember, we get to talk about and share and explore spirituality in really multifaceted ways. That I am excited and grateful for, that it's not just like, this is the one way, this is the only way, but now how many ways do I know of? How many ways can I explore and find? And what resonates for me? What lights me up, right? What sets my soul on fire? What makes me feel like, yeah, that's it. Woo! And that's what I want to talk about today. So, how are y'all feeling? Hey, I want to say hey to Tina. How are you? So let's see. I always like to start off with a question because I like what you all feedback and share and chime in with. So I want to talk about the source within and our connection to it, and the parts of that source within that lights us up. Yesterday morning on Body, Mind, Spirit, I talked about the sunshine and like how really healthy and healing the sun is, from our body to our DNA, to the cellular structure, to our eyeballs, to the pineal gland in our brain, to our hormone system, to our nervous system, so much, to our mood, our mental faculties, our spirit, which I only touched on because I knew I'd be talking more about that today. So I was talking about the sunshine, right? This outside of me giant star in the sky, you know? So thinking about that big giant star in the sky that we call the sun, right? Which, if you think about it, y'all, the sun is the source of so much of our energy, right? And side note, did you know that our sun is like not even like the biggest sun? There are bigger suns beyond the sun that we know is to be the sun. Our sun is actually kind of small. There's this one sun that's like giant. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, but that fireball in the sky, right? It's not really fire, but you know, a lot of plasma gases. But that fireball in the sky, how much energy it is and how much energy it allows to kind of keep moving, right? That heat from the sun gets molecules moving faster, gets them more excited. Like, you know, you think of something cold, it's like, I'm gonna move so slowly. And the sun activates and excites. And when things get excited, that's what we call chaos. Because then stuff starts like hitting each other. And when things start hitting each other, that's when new things get created. Right? So we know about the sun and this powerful source of energy that it is. And what I want to talk about is the equivalent to that big old sunshine, except the one that's internal. So here's a question. How does your, this is going to sound like such a kid question. Oh my gosh, y'all, I can hear it in my head. How does it feel to connect with your own sunshine energy? Your own light. Like, what does it feel like to you to connect with that feeling inside of your own internal light? Maybe you have, like, I want you to share whether you felt it, whether you haven't felt it, you have no idea what I'm talking about, or what your experience is with connecting with your own internal light. And while you do that, I want to read what y'all are saying. I want to say hey to Alan. I'm so happy that you're here. Oh, Catherine, thank you. Thank you for your reflection of great teaching. We're all great teachers, right? I love learning, so and I can't quit talking, which makes me a teacher. That, and I've got to mind like a steel trap. I just retain all this data, except for dates and names. Ooh, not so good. Marv said it feels like euphoria. Yeah, doesn't it? It feels like euphoria. How do you connect to that source, that energy center within? I'm so curious. Lauren says it feels like pure joy and inspiration and bliss. Ooh, yes, it does. Yeah, that feeling of like, this is mine, right? This is my joy. This is pure joy. Like when you see like a puppy just like playing around, it is in pure joy and bliss, and it's just like rolling around in the mud. You can look at a pig like rolling around in the mud. That pig is connected to its own source energy, right? It's like, I'm a pig rolling in the mud, so happy, right? Yes, I love that. Catherine says, I love me now. It feels so great. Sometimes, however, I get overwhelmed and I feel like maybe a little over dramatic. Understandable. I mean, you know, what is over dramatic? Is that just eccentric? Expressive? Is it based on your opinion or else's? Just putting that out there. Kimberly says, my light feels safe, like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm accepted. Yeah, I feel that. Thank you for sharing that. Like, that like internal source, this energy source, right? This internal sunshine that you are, that you have, this energy center, right? So I'll get into that because y'all can see I keep pointing right here. It feels like, it feels home, it feels safe. It's like, yep, I'm supposed to be here. This is where I'm supposed to be. Okay, yeah, this is where my truth is. This feels right. I feel like I'm accepted, right? Yeah, I love that. I love that. Alan, yeah, I don't think many of us have actually thought about it. I don't know if I consciously think about it. Yeah, these are all the thoughts that come in my head, and then I start talking, and then it comes out. Yeah, Catherine, you aren't taking my joy no more, no more, no more, no more. Um, so think about this, y'all. So nerding out in the little metaphysics world, we're made of energy, right? We have the elements of water within us, metal within us. We have the elements that are in the stones within us. We have the element of light. We have the element of fire, right? We are elemental earth beings. So with that, we actually are the sun, right? We have these energy centers in our body, and of them we have, and I mentioned it yesterday, in our solar plexus, right? Solar sun. In our solar plexus, we have an energy center, and this chakra is known to be the space that like is the expression of our personality, right? The how we show up in the world, how am I, what's the personality of Jane? Well, Jane's animated, she talks a lot, she makes funny voices, whatever. The solar plexus is also the space of will. It's the space of courage. Have you ever felt this like gnawing in like, it's not even like low in the gut, but it's like a little higher than that. It's like tugging at your heart, right? And it's this feeling of like, I just got to do this thing. I don't know why I got to do this thing, but I got to do this thing. Why do I want to do this thing? That calling, that pulling you, that is your will. That's what your will feels like. It's also the space of courage, right? Think about the lion, roar. This is the space of courageous action, of taking that step, of doing the thing, right? If I have a jovial personality, nobody's going to know unless I express it, right? I share it. I could be in Zen all day. Nobody's going to know until I start walking the walk of the Zen person, and they'll be like, damn, homegirl's feeling some peace, right? I also see this center, this solar plexus energy center, as being the space of joy, right? This like blossoming, blooming, just center for all the joy that we are and that we have. So this solar energy, if you think about it, we talked about it yesterday. When you feel the sun energy, you get like, you feel good, you feel energized, you feel happier, you feel more effervescent, you feel maybe more clear-headed, more connected. You just feel better. So when you tap into the source within, you're going to feel the same things as when you are able to get out in the sun. It's going to feel like going into a warm home after being cold all day. It's going to feel like getting into a hot bathtub. It's going to feel like stepping into air conditioning if you've been hot all day. It's going to feel like the equivalent to when you get that drink of water when you're thirsty. It feels like a need being met. A need that you maybe didn't even know you needed, but it feels like needs being met. And if you've lived a life remotely like any other human, or even myself, I looked to outside sources to meet my needs, and I still felt empty inside. I would turn to food to feel comfort. I would feel empty inside. I would turn to alcohol to feel happy and free, and yet I would still feel empty inside. I would turn to relationships to feel loved, and yet I still felt a little empty inside. I would turn to working myself to the bone to feel validated and good enough as part of the system. And yet I still felt empty, like I was still never enough, right? Because I was looking to sources outside of me. I was looking to other things that I thought was the sunshine in this example for me to feel all the things that source energy lets me feel. The source that I am within, and that the source is spirit source. I want to see what y'all are saying. Marv says, I sit quietly, sending my spirit outward to connect with nature and other spirits. When I take my walk, I talk to dogs, squirrels, and the birds, as well as other people. Yes. That is such, thank you for sharing that, Marv. When we connect, remember semantics. When we connect to that source within, we tend to connect with other sources, right? It's kind of like if you've ever been to a concert, right? Remember those things where people would gather and listen to music pre-COVID, BC, before COVID. Anyway, but remember going to like concerts and like everybody was just feeling the music. Like everybody was like on the same vibe and feeling it and dancing to it and singing along and just being. Everybody there was in their source, right? And so everybody's in their own source, but then it's like this big movement, right? It's like you can watch the crowd almost like move together in this like concert situation. So when we're connected with that spirit, we connect with so much more, right? Because we're bigger than that. I want to say hey to Charles. Alan says he's not feeling validated right now. Well, I'm glad you shared that, because there's a part of me that wants to validate you, really, I do. And then the bigger part of me wants to remind you that your being here is validation. Your being on this earth is validation. You being in an air breather body is validation that you deserve everything, that you deserve to see the sunset, that you deserve to be enjoying, you deserve to be loved, and you deserve to love because you're here. That to me is the validation. To me it is. Validation comes from within. It's like when I was looking for the sources of love outside of me, I didn't feel love. But when I loved me, then I was tapping into the source within. So then the love that was my own validation. If anybody else has something to piggyback on that, I would love to hear. So tapping into the source within, y'all. I wrote down some notes that I wanted to talk about. Oh, that's what it is. So what stops you? Here we go. What prevents you from connecting to the source within? That's the question. What prevents you? We all have the days where we're just like flailing about this thing called life, right? So what stops you from connecting with the source within? For me, it is like the core wound. We all have a core wound. We have a bunch of wounds. Like I get that. We all have a core wound. Mine is like not enoughness. I'm aware. So it's like, it's one of those, it's just the wound that I'm going to just continually be able to unfurl and unfold so that I can continually keep ascending and growing and evolving. Because that's what we can do with like a habitual wound, a core wound. So my core wound of not enoughness keeps me from my source within, because it's an old belief system that I learned from all the things that literally lets me forget totally that I am source, that source is within me. Interesting. So asking y'all, let's see. Yeah, Lauren says what stops her from connecting with the source within? Yes, societal standards, right? And obligations, yes, and self-doubt, yes. Those are big doozies that keep me too from connecting with that source within, right? Going back to what is the source within? It's that feeling. It's that feeling of like peace. I'm home. This is it. I am loved. I'm enough. I am whole. I am accepted. I am. Feels good. Feels safe, right? Feels secure. In societal standards, y'all, we are all a product of the society. And if you've ever been in line at the grocery store and you were waiting, you got to see all the magazines. And if you're a woman, you got to see that whatever you looked like, you were not thin enough, your face wasn't smooth enough, and your hair wasn't smooth enough either. Ding. And if you're in a man body, you probably saw the images on the magazine covers that said that you are not rich enough and you're not sexy enough. You're not man enough. Thank you, societal standards that are complete BS. Thank you, magazine covers, for plastering yourselves all over the place. Thank you, commercials, for still continuing that message, and TV shows, and just all the things. Obligations also keep me from the source within, because it's kind of like, I got to go do this thing. I got to go do this thing. The I gotta. I can't. I don't want to. Right? Definitely. Yes, Alice says I need to attend a concert that celebrates life. I need to spend more time in positive introspection. Both, yes. And to be able to go to those celebrations, right? And be able to be in introspection or be as the witness for that, that's good stuff. And Mark had mentioned earlier, the only true validation comes from the spirit, right? And what is the spirit? Love, right? I always take it to love. Mark says, I am the only being or force that keeps me from my connecting to the source from within. Yes, you are. We all are, right? I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, I'm the only one that's going to keep me from the feeling or the connection with the source within. Now, I can blame other things, right? True. I can say it is society. I can say it is the media. That's like, here's Jane, right? Sources within. So this is what I do. What's keeping me from it? I'm going to look outside and be like, what's distracting me, basically? What's distracting me so much that I can't reconnect? So, I mean, putting it all in a nutshell, it's going to be a distraction of some sort, right? What is the distraction? Obligations, self-doubt, the goddess, And then Kimberly says that being in my brain keeps me unconnected. Taking a moment to check in helps me reconnect with myself. Had to just check in and relax my jaw. Right. Yeah. Glad you noticed that. Isn't that interesting? Our bodies are big messengers, y'all. Big messengers. The brain, right? The source within is not here. Well, technically, it's all over. That being said, if you can imagine it being focused, think like heart space, right? And I'm calling in the solar plexus because there's a space between the heart and the solar plexus. I've got my hand on mine. The space between the heart and the solar plexus, y'all cosmic homies out there, y'all want to hear this. So we're getting a lot of energy coming in from the cosmos, and it's activating this part of our body between the heart and the solar plexus. It's that space in between, and it's starting to activate a lot of DNA, a lot of genes, actually, to be the embodiment of like source. Because it takes guts. It takes guts to ignore the self-doubt and to move through that, right? It takes guts to notice the fear and to move through it in the name of the heart. It takes choice, right? I see the solar plexus as a place of choice. It's a choosing. I said that funny, whatever. But seeing the jaws tighten up, right? Well, that means that I'm holding tension in my body. Well, then if I can relax that, then I'm going to be able to relax even more and drop in my heart and then make a decision that's probably going to be more relaxed, right? Less tight-lipped or whatever that is. It's so awesome. Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting that we're talking about the solar plexus and the source being, love of the heart, because this where they meet, that area in between the heart and the solar plexus is this super magical spot. That's kind of why I think it's been coming up so big this week. Interesting. Mark says, anxiety tries to distract me, but only forces me to ground myself with my source. Yes, right? Anxiety, right? To me, I look at anxiety very much like the got tos. And it's either like, I got to go do all these things and I don't have time. Or how am I ever going to do all these things? Or how am I ever going to be ready for that? And how am I going to be prepared for the other? And blah, 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 blah. And anxiety is a mental distraction, right? It is a mental distraction. It manifests in our emotional body. We will feel it physically too. I think having that awareness of anxiety is my distractor from my source. That's a really huge awareness, What also kept me distracted from my source within forever, was the need to please others. I would just kind of do what anyone else needed or what they said I needed to do or that I should do, so that I would look a certain way so that they would see me as the light, although I'm empty and hollow on the inside, oh my God, I just need me time or whatever it is. I was a people pleaser of sorts, People pleasing was my distraction from the source within. It's kind of a big one. So I think that we've kind of got a handle on there are a lot of things that will distract us or keep us from connecting or realizing and kind of touching and acting from that space of the source within. That sunshine, vibrant, courageous, I will burn through anything to get what I want because I am the heart kind of thing. So, and we've talked about kind of what it feels like, which is, it feels good. It feels like home. So here's a question. When you have lost touch with the source within, right? You've gotten deep into your anxiety, or you're looking for validation, or your body is hurting so much that you can't even think about anything other than the pain, right? So now you're in pain mode. Or what if you're just in anger mode? I'm angry at the world, I'm angry at this, and I'm angry at that. We're allowed to feel those things. And it's really challenging to move forward in the direction of the heart if all I'm focused on is anger, right? It's just a math equation that doesn't compute. So when you have been out of touch with your source within, okay, what do you do? How do you get back to that? Like you can't go to Walmart and be like, look, I found it in aisle 5. Aisle 5 isn't going to have your source that you get to go by, take off the plastic, throw it in the garbage because they don't recycle it, and then you just drink it down. Nope. Some people go to church. Now it's COVID season, not quite as frequently, right? And why do we go to church? To connect with the source within. If what I need is to connect within me, why do I need to go to church? I feel like it's a reminder sometimes, right? Maybe it's the habit, the ritual. It was like the ritual of me hitting the sound bowl and hitting the sound bowl, and lighting the sage. That really kind of called that it activated my senses to kind of hone me back into me, right? Yes, there, Catherine says pranayama practice and meditation. Yes, meditation. I'm going to go back to the pranayama. Actually, Sarah Catherine, is there a particular pranayama that brings you back to the source within, or is it all pranayama? I feel like for me, it's like most of them, but I don't know if you have like a special fave. Meditation. Meditation is such a great tool to bring you back to the source within. You know why? Because you shut the mind up. It's kind of like if you have the radio on so loud and someone's trying to talk to you and you're like, what? I can't hear you. What? And if you just turn down the music, you can hear. What are you trying to hear? The source within, right? You're trying to hear that higher truth, the truth. You're trying to hear the frequency of peace. And that comes when we can still the mind. That's why I lead all these meditations, which y'all, if you don't know and you're in the Charlotte area, I'm leading like community meditations. Like there's going to be one in Statesville. On the 18th, there's one on the 22nd near Uptown, near the Metropolitan. So like the links are in my bio on my Facebook page. So you can actually like come to these meditations, because when we meditate, and I use sound healing music, so it like definitely takes you into a whole other zone of like stillness. But meditation gets you to a place where you can reconnect, right? And pranayama. So pranayama is breath work. It's focused, intentional breath. So you know how at the beginning I'm like, let's take a deep breath in, right? So intentional breathing. So you like the Agni Sara? I know, right? Girl, I feel that. I've been doing that in the mornings. It like literally, I'm just like, I'm here. But different forms of breath work, if you are feeling really lethargic and really depressed, and you just don't have the energy, and you don't even want to deal with connecting to the source within because it just doesn't even matter. Has anybody else been there? Right? There's certain breathing techniques that you can do that actually start to activate and ignite that fire within. For real though, it's amazing. Sarah says it clears the way through so I can even attempt meditation. Yes, when I go through the breath work, then I drop into meditation like that. My mind is like, okay, I'm clear. I got you. I'll be still now. Now you can feel this peace, and you can feel this stillness, right? Thank you for sharing that. Mark says that he, to reconnect to his source within, be quiet and listen to my breath and meditate. Exactly. Yes. And even if you don't know the pranayamas and different breathing techniques, if you just have the sound around you down enough, or have like healing frequency music, then I recommend, if you need a link, let me know. But like listening to the silence and then listening to the breath, just listening to the way it sounds. Is your nose whistling because you have some booger in it? Then just listen to it. Just like listen to your breath. It's very calming. Lauren says, meditation, moving my body, getting out in nature, surrounding myself with people who hold space for the manic within. Oh, I thought you said manic. That was me, I guess. The magic within me. I can hold space for manic as well. And I love to hold space for magic. That's fun. Yeah, moving the body, y'all. I have never felt so close to the source within and without as I do when I dance. I will put a music on and I will dance, and I've been able to do this by myself. I've been able to let go a good bit in front, like with others, it's always a practice. That's why on the equinox I'm holding a cacao ceremony and ecstatic dance, so that we can get into this free movement to feel this. Because when you move your body, like, yeah, yoga asana is great for getting into your body, right? It is so good. And free form movement, where you are moving like only you move, you connect so wholeheartedly to the source within, because you're using that solar plexus energy to say, okay, I'm courageous. I don't even care if someone thinks I'm dancing like a goober. I'm going to move. I'm going to just feel the music. I don't care what I look like. Am I doing Zumba moves? I don't care. But it's a way to really connect with that source within in such a beautiful, lighthearted way. Thanks for mentioning that. And getting out in nature. Oh, that one right there, that always connects me too. When I can see something big and majestic, like, I don't know, a mountain, a forest, a bird, everything's majestic. And then, like you said, Lauren, like being around people who like hold the space, right, for the magic within you. So that's like being around people that let you be you, and they don't judge you. They support you, right? They give you yeah, you got this. I love you for you. Yes. Um, yes. Kimberly says, be still, move away from chaos or busy or others. Go be in peace with myself. Yes. Being with the self. Oftentimes that's a really scary place. Like, if you haven't had much practice with being alone can feel real freaky. It's okay though. It's safe. You've gotten you through. You got this. Just put that little reminder out there to anybody. But yeah, sometimes for me to connect with that source within, sometimes there's just too much going on around me. You know, sometimes I can't turn down the music. I can't turn down the volume. And sometimes I just need to like go sit in a room by myself. You know? Have y'all ever like gone out for like a walk or a hike and you're just like, I just want to be alone, and like the trails are packed. You go to the park and there's like 85 family reunions there, and you're like, I just need some alone time in nature. Usually whenever I do that, I'm like, I should have just gone in my backyard. True story. Yeah, Catherine. If find the words. If you would like a link on my website, on my Instagram, and on my Facebook page, there's a link tree link, and you can click on events, and it'll be on there. And then I can also share more if you send me a message. Yeah, see, Catherine says, however, sometimes I can't sit still and it drives me crazy. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes what keeps me from connecting to the source within is my frustration at the time and my inability to connect with the source within. How funny is that, y'all? It's like, I should be more connected right now. I can't even sit still. Well, if you can't sit still, you, whoever, me, if you can't sit still, then maybe connect to the source within by moving. Right? It's like, you know, if I have so much energy in me, that means I have a lot of this fire energy. Let me move my body. Let me honor that fiery nature that I am and let it move through me. Let me see what comes out with it. Let me see what else I can transmute with this movement. Right? Lauren, I am so excited for the cacao ceremony too. You don't even know. Just made the playlist. So good. Yes. Marv, I love this. Oh, Catherine, I bet you are loving being able to be alone. It's a gift. Marv says, try sitting with someone quietly and speak to them without using your voice. Yes. And you may want to give someone a heads up, because otherwise you might just look at them and then they'll be like, what are you doing? But it's true. But yeah, just being with someone, you know, sometimes to reconnect to that source within is just being. And maybe that being is being with another human while they're going through their stuff, whatever their stuff is. And maybe it's being as the human you are and having someone be a witness without them judging or talking to you or telling you what you need to do, but just being. That is what Source does. Source bees. Yes, Alan says, sit out in the sun, be mindful of letting go of all stressors, breathing slowly and carefully. Yes, focus on my breath and let it calm me. Yeah, let it in. So, breath. I'm so glad y'all are mentioning breath. So, breath, when we take a breath in, we are inspiring, right? It's inspiration. Spirit. The words all connect. Inspiration's root word is spirit. There is the life force is breath. It's one of the biggest, easiest go-tos to reconnect to the stillness, to the peace of the source within. So then I know where to go when my heart's calling me, so I can follow it, you know? It's that breath. Being in the sun, reconnecting with nature. Yeah, I love that. There are so many ways to reconnect to the source within. This one's a doozy. I'm going to give this one out to y'all. And you may think that I am full of it, but I'm not. If you can look in the mirror, some of you that have been with me, you've heard me say this before. I don't care. I'm going to repeat it. Look in the mirror. You are the source. It's you. See yourself. See yourself for all that you are in this now moment. And see yourself and be the witness too. Are you judging what you're seeing? Then you're not being the source. Are you loving you because you're doing the best you can? You're being the source. Do you feel compassion for the eyes that are looking at you? That's letting the source within be and letting the source within be seen. Very powerful work. Can be really, really hard. If you need support in that, reach out. I got you. For real. Mark says, what happens when you speak to someone without using voice? You touch their spirit with your spirit. Yes. So often, we don't even like look at each other. How many times do you go to the store and the person checking you out, they're looking down at your stuff and they're just getting ready to like scan it. And they say, hey, how's it going? Pass paper or plastic. And they don't even look at you. And what about you being the person buying the thing? That, they may be looking at you saying, how are you today? Welcome to Trader Joe's. And you're like, yeah, thanks. And you don't even acknowledge that this person is supporting you getting food. Like just that eye contact, just the presence of another human. It's magic. So here's something that no one's mentioned yet. Mantras. Saying the same thing over and over again on repeat, but things that have meaning. So there was a mantra that I was called to last week, and it's flowing over into this week, so I want to share it. It's Om Agnaye Namaha. Da-da-da-da-da-da. But it is. And it's calling to this great sacred fire, to the sacred fire within, to the sacred fire that burns through and alchemizes and transmutes and purifies all that we don't need so that we can be the source, right? It's calling to that fire. Om Agnaye Namaha. That mantra is not only powerful because it is in Sanskrit, and the words in Sanskrit are translated due to the sounds that they make. The sounds of the words are the meaning of the word, right? Like the word shanti, it means peace. And when you say it, shanti, it feels like peace. You don't feel like an asshole if you say shanti, right? So Om Agnaye Namaha is really powerful in even speaking of the words, which takes a lot of solar plexus courage to take the action step of speaking the word. So energetically speaking, it's really getting your solar plexus like fired up and moving and going, moving through the heart because of the words and the devotion in it, and clearing out the energy of the throat chakra, because it takes intention. Like you gotta say these things, right? We are speaking sources here. We're speaking sources. Also, like it was mentioned earlier with the pranayama and the breath work, when we chant mantra over and over again, that's what chanting is, then you get into this rhythm of breathing, right? You're going to inhale, you're going to say the mantra, you're going to inhale, you're going to say the mantra, and you get into this rhythm, this diaphragmatic rhythm. The diaphragmatic rhythm is going to, because the diaphragm kind of pushes up and down like an accordion. So it's actually going to be massaging the underbelly of your solar plexus. Super healing. And this is the spiritual stuff that our ancestors of humans have done over the years. So we get to remember and put into practice, almost rediscover and put together these pieces of reconnection in ways that work for us, right? So I just offer what I can, and with your feedback and with what you chime in, it adds to the mix, right? Because I wouldn't, I have all these ideas in my own experiences because I wouldn't have remembered about moving my body, even though it's one of my hands down favorite ways to reconnect in like big ways to the source within. So yeah, there's a mantra. What else? Here's another one. Talking about all this fire, I need a sip of water. That just made me think of one. It ends with a Y, Sarah Catherine. It's Agnae. Will you type it again? Om Agnaye. It's Agnayean word, but Agnaye is what it looks like. Namaha. Another way that I can get really connected with the source within is through gratitude. Just good old-fashioned gratitude. Gratitude for the water. Gratitude for the roof. Gratitude that I have the ability to swallow. Gratitude that I get to be a breather on this world. Gratitude is a really great way for me to reconnect with the spirit within. Also, pleasuring my senses is like intentionally. So like, yeah, I can put lotion on my body, but if I'm actually, like the other day, I put a ton of coconut oil on my hands, and for like an hour, I just was doing this. And at first I was like, this is boring. But then I just kind of got into this meditation of putting this oil on my hands. And then I started to enjoy and just play with the slip of this oil on my hands. And then I was noticing that my fingers were doing all these really interesting things. And I was like, oh, I'm making mudras, and wow, and this is amazing. And I found so much joy in the sense of touch. And that brought me back to that spirit within and this like kind of playful nature of like being in discovery through my senses. Tina asked if there's a mantra for being still. I really like Om Shanti for that. And it's singing, or well, you can say it and you can sing it. Either way, Shanti, peace. I will sing Om Shanti Om Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om, and I'll do it over and over and over again. Sometimes I say Om Shanti 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Depends. It's up to you. There are a million mantras. That was just the one that came to mind. Is Om Shanti. Um, there are mantras for everything, and you can also, I like Sanskrit because it has so much healing frequency to even just saying the words, like clearing our chakras and giving ourselves like a metaphysical like tune up. And there's also, you can have mantras in English. I tend to call them affirmations instead. The what was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I had a brain fart. Oh, English. Dude. I call them affirmations, but all that to say, like a mantra for surrendering, right? You could have a mantra that says, just like that you could say out loud, I surrender to the source within. I surrender to the source within. I choose to surrender. I choose to surrender. I choose to surrender to the source within. And that could be repeated over and over. And then you start to just kind of settle into it. Like, oh, okay, I do surrender to the source within. I do. I surrender to the source within. And you start to feel it. And if I'm saying it, then my ears are hearing it. And so I'm like, okay, that's true. Because I don't have any space to think any other thoughts because I'm too busy focusing my thoughts on the words coming out, then my mind, although it's active, goes into a different brainwave pattern that mimics stillness more than like extreme activation. So if someone has like an anxious mind, mantras are a really great way to bring down the anxious mind, to come back into that stillness, which reconnects you to the source within. Because it's all within. It's all within. All within. You know? You know? So one last thing. And I'm going to share this because I got a Shruti box. Boing! Because one of the last things that I find that connects me back to the source within is play. And I don't mind being goofy or like making a fool out of myself, or like, I don't think I make a fool out of myself, but others might. I just don't care what they think. Is play. Play will bring me back to source, right? I'm so grateful that I get to like hang out with kids like 3 days a week because they allow me to play. I can be a goofball. I can talk about poop. I can play tag. I can tell them I'm having a hard time with something. Like I can play. So you go get a musical instrument and you just play. You don't even have to know how. You just figure it out. You just play. So I got this Shruti box, and this is what it sounds like. I have no idea what it sounds like over this platform, but I'm just going to play this. And if you have this, hey Raymond, so you can have a mantra, right? Calling to that source within. You can call in for peace. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om. And that's just singing a mantra. But whatever you do, play with that space of the source within, y'all. Remember that it is within you. It always has been. It always will be. There's nothing but reflections outside of you to the source within. Everything is a reflection of source. Don't forget that source is within. Go inward. Go inward, y'all. Breathe into it. Feel into that spacious beauty of you, that fiery nature that is courageous enough to follow your heart. Please, thank you in advance. From the future Earth. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Keep tuning into you. Keep tuning into Promise Resource Network. If you want to join some of the guided meditations that I'll be doing live in the community, if you want to join the cacao and ecstatic dance ceremony on the equinox, please find me on the Facebook or the Instagram or my website at janetheguide.com. For real though. And you can get tickets or locations and get more information. You can always send me a message. And I know I'm over a minute, but I also want to remind you that you can always call the Promise Resource Network warm line if you're looking for any more support, a listening ear. The number is free and 24 hours a day, and the number is 833-390-7728. Use it. Tell your friends. Okay. I love you all so much. I'll see you in the morning for something creative, okay? 10 o'clock.